Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. All right, so we are, let's be honest, with Leo and Luna.
Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here.
Definitely. All right, so if you don't know, I know we have a lot of new fans out there. My name's Leonardo. I am a spiritual practitioner, past life therapist, as well as tarot reader. And I do a lot of different modalities, and I love what I do, and I love to share my experience and my skills with other people. And tell them about you.
Right, so I am Luna, and I am a Karmic Resolution Facilitator. I work extensive with past lives, shadow work. I also do tarot as well, and I do past lives. I love what I do. I have had this gift since my childhood and have been expanding so far. And so when I met Leo, because we're both on the spiritual path, it was a very, very intense because we had like these big conversations. And one of the first conversations that we had was about red flags.
Yes, let's be honest about red flags. All right, so what's going on is here at Lotus Path Holistics, I'm featuring here with Luna because she's my partner in crime. Lotus Path Holistics is going to have like a video every Wednesday about different topics about spiritual life and spiritual life advice. We love giving spiritual advice. We love hearing your guys' experiences, so feel free to ask us any questions along the way. If you need advice about relationships, especially about red flags or different triggers in the relationship, ask us. We love to give you our advice and also our spiritual perspective.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of experience helping other people. So what I discussed in my video on Wednesday was about red flags in relationships. Red flags, as I define it, is about specific signs that things aren't going as they should. They're usually things you find in the beginning of a relationship and then also at the end. Things that you should pay attention to. Things that show that there is flaws in the integrity of your relationship. So common red flags that I mentioned in the video was that if you see someone is not investing enough time in you, that's a really big red flag for me. If you are not being introduced to family and friends, huge red flag for me. Yes. And then if your partner is not emotionally vulnerable to you, huge red flag. So those are things that I've seen that is a huge red flag in my book, in my experiences in the dating world, and also in my experience helping other people with their relationships. So then go take it away. Tell us about different red flags that you've seen.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to address when we're talking about red flags, what is it really, right? I would just say it's a mixture of things. It could be signs, behaviors. It could just be actions. And usually they show up in the beginning of a connection, a friendship, a relationship. And, sometimes they're the little things that we say, oh, it's okay. I'm going to be a little tolerant about it. I'm open-minded. So I'm just going to give the benefit of the doubt for the person, right? But these are actually the first signs of how the connection is going to go. And unfortunately, in the past, I don't know how many times I said it to myself, I see something is not working from the beginning, and then I see those red flags in the sense kind of like growing and expanding. And let's say, you're going on a date, right? So there is like the person who's late for 5 minutes. And then next date, they're 5 minutes late again. And then it takes like a month and like half an hour late. So, these things keeps growing.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true, definitely. So my experience with red flags is that, it's all of our experience with red flags in relationships. When you see something and then you end up breaking up with somebody, and then at the end, you realize, oh man, if I just focused, if I just saw that the person was always like that, whether they're nagging or controlling, when you pay attention to the beginning of the relationship, you get exactly the information that you need at the end. So I find that is something that I've experienced quite a bit. So we will let you guys know again and again. If you have any questions about relationships, if you need any advice about your relationship from two spiritual life coaches, Feel free to ask any questions here. We'll be here for a while so that we can answer your questions and actually discuss what are red flags for you and what's good for you and what's also something to watch out for.
Yeah. So I just want to share my personal experience when it comes to red flags. It was technically last year when this happened. And it was the first time actually I got myself into, I would say, a situation like that. So I met a friend. And when I met her, she was like the sweetest person ever, right? And she wanted to say good morning. She wanted to say good afternoon. She wanted to say good night. I just thought, she's being really friendly. She really wants to get to know me. And then she was, intuitively I was feeling that something was off about it though. Because no matter what I was doing, she was always somehow following my steps. So let's say I posted something about my work, right? And she would say, oh, you just try to get attention for people and hey Sharon, welcome, hi.
Yes. Hey
So,
Sharon. Hey Carmen. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to the live. If you have any questions about relationships, feel free to shoot them in.
Yeah, especially for red flags. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask. So yeah, she would just say, oh, I just feel that you give attention to other people and you don't talk to me as much. But technically, I was talking to her all day. So in the beginning, she would just talk a lot and then she would just technically take over all my day. So no matter what I did, no matter where I was, if I didn't talk to her, if I didn't say good morning, she would just go about it and say, oh, you forgot about me. She would just start to guilt trip me. And before I would just say cut her off or just move on, I felt really scared. It was the scariest feeling ever. And I just said to myself, oh my God, I wish I listened to my intuition and I wish I would just pay attention to those red flags because I could just see it, and I just wrote it down in my little notebook and I say, next time when I see someone who's so persistent and doesn't give you room to breathe, so that's, I guess, it's a red flag for me.
Definitely. Yes. And red flags come up in friendships, in relationships. So when you're looking for red flags, it's when you're really getting to know someone, when you've gone your first dates, right? And you sit there and you should start asking things like, okay, if you know a red flag is about investing time, right? Is that person late to the date? Do they care that they're late? Like, let's say that you go on a date with a guy, right? And the guy shows up 15 minutes late. Let's be honest. Red flag.
But let's be honest though, because what if they got stuck in traffic? I mean, the first time I would give it, let's say, because right now it's snowing outside. So, if bad weather shows up and then there was like a car accident, Lakeshore Drive, right? They're going to be like, okay, there was like traffic on the Saturday because it started snowing. Well, it's okay. For one time, I want to be like, okay, 15 minutes you can be late because of traffic and weather. But if this becomes a pattern, then I say, well, this is a red flag. Like, that person keeps repeating it. He keeps being late on the date.
Yeah. Hey, Arturo. Welcome to our live.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah, but I think that when it comes to red flags, like, someone should always be on time. Or if you're not going to be on time to a date, to an event, to a birthday, in a relationship, you should definitely have that open communication and actually talk about it. So you should text that person and say, I'm going to be late 15 minutes. Wait up for me.
Yep.
Rather than when you're in a date and then someone's like, I just showed up late. Sorry. No. Communication. I see that as a huge red flag in my mind.
So Carmen said red flag if they didn't call and let you know, they'll be like, yes. That's definitely a red flag.
There you go. That's my biggest pet peeve. Okay. It's one of my pet peeves, but it's a huge red flag for me, personally, is when somebody just shows up late. I see it as like, you have to respect somebody's time, But to me, it's a red flag when you don't communicate that you're late. And so, like, it happens repetitively. It happens, let's say, birthdays, sweet 16s. It happens at school. You're trying to get picked up at work. and you're like, baby, pick me up. And they don't show up. And they're like, oh, I was 10 minutes late. I was at the grocery store. What do you mean you were at the grocery store? So I think that's a red flag. A red flag should see, when you, in the beginning of a relationship, you should pay attention to how much they value time.
Yeah.
And if they value time with you, if they value your time management.
Yes.
Time management. Hey there.
Hi, Flor.
So we're talking about our ideas about red flags in relationships. Hey. Yeah, so that's my cousin.
Oh, hi.
Yes. All right. So definitely, I think that's important. The next thing I think is important is inviting you to see your family and friends. It's a big red flag for me because when you're guys trying to get to know someone, let's say you're on a date with them and then you go on for months, and let's say you're dating someone for like 6 months, and they decide not to invite you to, let's say, a family birthday, or maybe to invite you to Thanksgiving, or something like that. When you've already been together for like 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
I see that as a red flag. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Wait. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
If you have a family like mine, you don't want them to meet anyone.
Okay, that's true. Okay. I take it back. Red flags when it comes to people, your lover or your friends inviting you to their family and friends gatherings.
Yeah.
It depends. Okay, if somebody told me I don't want to be invited to, I don't want you to see my mom and my dad because they're very negative people and they're super abusive and blah, blah. You have to explain it to me. You have to tell me, hey.
That's true.
Yes, so what I'm finding out and what you guys are finding out is that it's all about communication.
Yeah.
Because with time management, the first red flag that I talked about in my video, investing your time, it doesn't have to be a red flag if your lover communicates that they're late, or they communicate why their time management is bad, or it might seem that they do or don't spend time with you the way that you want. So with being introduced to family and friends, that is a huge red flag to me in the beginning, especially. But if your lover sits down and communicates to you, tells you, I don't have good parents. My parents are abusive. My parents are not trustworthy. My parents will steal your money, or something like that. If they talk to you and tell you why, it no longer is that much of a red flag as long as you communicate.
I totally agree with that because I had a situation with my ex in Greece where they would just have, gatherings. They would just have food. They would just celebrate Christmas. And I'm like, am I invited over? I would just even ask. And he was just like, no, so he would just find some excuse. Oh, it's just family. But I'm like, hold on. I am family to you. That's what you're saying, right? And also he was saying, that's what I told my parents.
Yep.
That you're family, you're part of it, but you don't invite me. So that's a red flag by itself. So it's just something that you say, but you don't really mean it.
Yeah, I mean, as Carmen said, family is part of a relationship.
Yeah,
that's true. When you marry somebody, you're marrying the whole family.
Yes, you do.
Like if someone were to be in a relationship with me, they marry my family, my friends, my best friend, my roommate, my cat. You have to know everybody. And because everyone needs to be okay with you, everyone should love you like you are my own, Unless
you have a double life.
Unless you have a double life. Yes. Red flags. Let's be honest.
Unless you have like 2 boyfriends, 2 girlfriends, a mister, a mistress, like something else.
Okay.
So you don't want to know any of that.
I know. Hello, Damaris.
Hi, Damaris. Hi.
All right, let's be honest. If you're in a relationship and you're in a relationship with someone for a year and maybe a few years, and they still don't invite you to family functions, you still don't know their mother's name, and you still don't know anything about them, red flag. Because then, what if they have a double life? What if they're cheating?
Yeah.
What if they have a secret wife and kids? I don't know.
Carmen said something really nice. She said, it's a must to know the family because you could understand the person you develop a relationship with. Definitely. Because it doesn't matter which family you're coming from, right? It made you the person you are today. So you kind of want to know the background, especially like someone if they have triggers, right? Or they have trauma or they act in a specific way. You want to know why.
Yeah.
But if they don't want to share that and they don't want to share about the past, I mean, in the beginning, some people, you know how they are. Not everyone is very open, but as you said, it might take maybe 5 to 6 months for someone to open up.
Yeah.
It's okay. But you still need to give some, you know, some time. Like, okay, you have like up to 6 months, you know?
Hey there. So it's true. It's true. And if you're going to have a relationship with someone, there should be a specific time that you actually communicate that, hey, here's my family and friends.
Yeah.
To get to know someone's family and friends, especially a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, they're definitely going to let you know the kind of person they were as a child. That's key. That's almost like getting to know someone's innocence, which is actually a part of like the spiritual aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
Emotionally, intuitively, when someone has this red flag in a relationship and it just shows up, you have to be honest with yourself. Do I feel right about something? If somebody's late all the time and you have this inner feeling like an intuition, something's not right, then it's probably not right. Mm-hmm. So the key to understanding red flags in a relationship is what we're trying to express, right? Is that there's sort of like an intuitive spiritual aspect to it that, you know, like when you're in a relationship with a guy and you feel something's not right, that's your intuition talking.
Yeah.
So if you're with a friend and you see them going off and texting in the corner and they're not paying attention to you, but then they take you out, there's something not right.
Yeah.
There's something not right. So the thing that we want to teach you, and whatever tips you guys need, just ask us and let us know. If you feel like something's wrong in a relationship, there's probably something wrong. If it's not wrong with them, then it's wrong with you. But we need to find out what exactly that is.
Yeah. And sometimes the red flags are very intuitive. Okay, so when we say what intuition is, it's kind of like, I would say physically, logically, it makes no sense. You're like, that shouldn't be a red flag. That's okay. But emotionally or, I would say, or spiritual, something feels off. It doesn't matter whether something doesn't match. It doesn't feel okay. And so let's say, for example, let's say, you're in a friendship, right? And so you send text to the friend because you want to see how they're doing, how they're feeling, and then they never reply back to you. Or they reply to you after like a day or after like 2 days. And you keep sending them text and you're just feeling like, oh, like your first thought, maybe it's not, oh, you know, maybe the person actually is busy, but maybe it feels like, I feel they're ignoring me and it doesn't feel right. So that doesn't feel right is your intuition telling you that this is a red flag, that if the person is digging out the beginning of the connection, and we all know, I mean, the beginning of a connection when it's, you know, it's fresh, it's fun, with a friend, you know, with a partner, there's always that excitement in the beginning. At least the first 6 months, the honeymoon phase,
Mm-hmm.
like even like at work, you know, when you have a connection with your colleagues, when you get to know them. Oh my God, work flags, those are like the worst.
Oh, you know what's worse? Red flags in the sexual relationship in the beginning. Huge red flags. Let's be honest about sex, okay? The truth is, when in the beginning, if somebody rushes sex in a relationship, huge red flag. Huge red flag. I didn't really put that down in the video because I didn't think about it because I'm thinking more emotional and spiritual.
Yeah.
But let's talk about physical for a second. To be honest, when you're in a relationship and you don't feel comfortable and somebody wants to have sex early, it's a problem. Red flag. Because you don't know if they actually want to have a relationship with you. Maybe they just want a quickie.
But hold on, when you go on a date with someone and, you know, you want to get to know them, you sit down the table. It has happened to me so many times. It's just like crazy. So you sit down and then you try to get to know them and they say, oh, your hair is pretty. Your eyes are pretty. Oh, you know, your clothes, your body. And I'm like, okay. What about your family? What are you going to do for work? Like, oh no, this doesn't matter now. Let me tell you about how you look like. I'm like, okay, something is wrong.
Red flag.
Red flag. Right out. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, when you guys go on dates, okay, and you all will go on dates. If you're on a date with your husband, your wife, if you're on a date with a new person, and they can't refrain from talking about sex or money, let's say all they want to do is talk about your paycheck.
Oh my God.
Red flag. All they want to do is talk about how cute you are. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're so beautiful. But they don't want to talk about what are your interests, what are your hobbies, what makes you feel safe and secure in a relationship. Red flag. Because let's be honest, a lot of guys and a lot of girls, maybe their head isn't in the right place. So you, as a person, you have to use your intuition when you're in a relationship, especially at the beginning, because in the beginning, all the red flags are there. Focus, listen to what they're saying. Something that is a really good way to understand red flags is to know that when somebody's telling you who they are, listen. Usually when you're hanging out with your friends and your lover, they're telling you exactly who they are all the time, in the way they move their hands and the way they walk and what they dress, the friends that they keep, the food that they eat, the time that they spend, the things that they focus about you. They're telling you all the time who you are. So just listen to what they say, because usually when somebody tells you exactly who you are, we don't listen because we like to dream of another thing. Yeah. Like, oh, we love them because they're cute, or, oh, we love them because they have a really good job, or like, no. Listen to what they're saying, and your intuition will tell you that this is a red flag, and you will not have to go forward in the relationship hoping that they change. Yeah. And then another thing is like the work red flags. I had the worst experience. It was a thing 4 years ago. I will never forget that. So I got this job at the place, right? And I was very excited because it looked like a really, really good place to work. But there was something off with the boss. And I couldn't pinpoint in the beginning what it was like. But the first day that I went to work, it was like really, really cold here in Chicago. It was around that time and it was snowing. And I got to work and I sneezed. And she said, "Oh no, honey, you are sick. You are going home." I'm like, hold on. This is my sensitivity to the weather. I'm not sick. And she's like, "I cannot have sick people to work for me. You better go home." And that day I sucked it up. I'm like, okay, I guess maybe she doesn't want those kind of people at work. Maybe, I really like the job. I want to be there, but her behavior started getting worse and worse. And it was not just with me. She was treating everyone terribly. And at the end of the day, I had to quit the job. But the signs were just there from day one. Absolutely. And, Florida is saying, listen to your stomach. It'll always let you know when something is wrong. Absolutely. And that's the key to understanding that there is a very strong spiritual intuitional aspect to actually relationships, and understanding when something is wrong. You have to listen to your gut. You got to listen to your intuition and feel when something's wrong. In work relationships, your relationship with your boss, your relationship with your coworkers also, you got to know when someone's using you or not using you. So you have to sort of just listen to what they're doing. Yeah. Pay attention. Especially in the first few weeks of starting a new job. Oh yeah, definitely. That can tell you a lot. That can tell you a lot of red flags. Definitely. Welcome, George. Welcome. Hi. Yes. So if you guys have any questions or different red flags that you've seen in relationships, feel free to type it in. We'd love to discuss it. Yeah, or if you have any question about red flags or you need advice, definitely just go ahead and ask. Yeah, we're here for advice and definitely guidance in that direction. So then the third red flag that I mentioned in my video was emotional and spiritual vulnerability. So when you're dating somebody or when you're in a relationship with somebody, and in the beginning especially, if you don't see the person emotionally opening up, I see that as a huge red flag, not because they're maybe not comfortable, but sometimes when someone doesn't open up emotionally, it just means that they don't actually like you. And that's really hard to swallow for a lot of people, because I do have a lot of clients that have come to me over the years saying, is this person for me? Will this person love me? And I'm telling them, in a past life or in a future circumstance, maybe not. But it's about paying attention to their actions. If somebody doesn't progressively open up their heart to you, it's a huge red flag. Because let's be honest, if someone doesn't show you affection, it just means they don't actually care. And it's hard to swallow, because a lot of people, again, in relationships, because of the idea of it, but to be honest and to be real in relationships is very key. So definitely something to focus on. Hi, Michelle. Hey, Michelle. And hi, Ed. Hey, Ed. Welcome.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But also, there are people who are like me, again, who are just like, emotionally guarded. So if you have had, relationships or connection with people and you have been treating in a specific way, I'm a little bit reluctant, to open in the beginning because I kind of like speculate. I'm looking for those red flags. I'm like, so, what is this guy going to do? Or in a friendship, I'm like, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? And kind of like sometimes you get suspicious because if you have been through the same thing all over again, so you're kind of guarded. But, I would just say it takes a little bit of time for someone to warm up, maybe a couple of dates. I mean, give at least like 3 to 4 dates, or even when you go for a friend out for a coffee, you got 3 to 4 times, and then, they don't ask you questions that matter in a sense that, how you really doing, how you're emotionally doing, or, how you doing with your family, with your friends, with work, how are you feeling, how can I be there for you? And they just ask, did you go on vacation, or how was work? Did you get your paycheck? Or very, very basic things that you would expect to just have that connection with an acquaintance and not with a friend.
Definitely. Yeah. Big red flag for me is when someone doesn't ask how I actually feel. That's a huge problem. Yeah. So biggest red flags, one of the biggest red flags for me is like, when you're in a relationship and you're dating someone and they never ask how you feel. You walk into a room, they never ask, how are you feeling? How are you feeling today? What's going on with you? Are you happy? Are you hungry? So that's a really good thing to focus on when you start a friendship, relationship, or when you meet somebody new. A red flag is when the first, a couple times, 2-3 times that you meet them, and you notice that they actually really don't care how you feel. That, to me, is a red flag. Yeah. Because that means that they generally don't care about you. and it shows in the actions because they never ask how you feel. And how was your day? How are you feeling today? Are you cold? And what's going on in your life? They don't care because they don't ask. And they don't ask, it's a red flag. That means that they just don't care. Yeah,
that's true. And another red flag for me, that one is like my pet peeve. Just, I can't do that one at all. Like when I see it, it's just like, I'm not going to talk to that person because I know where this is going. So when I ask someone a question, Leo knows that, and they don't reply.
Oh, I hate that one.
Leo hates that one too.
Okay.
So
let's be honest.
So let's say, I meet a guy, right? And I just want to go on a date. And so I ask, for example, tell me a little bit about your past relationships. And they skip the question.
Yes.
And they completely skip it. And they just say, where you want to go for your first date? And then you ask again, you're like, so tell me about your ex-girlfriend. And then they say, my car broke down. They just reply something completely random that makes zero sense. And there is no cohesiveness, in the conversation. Mm-hmm. So when I see that, I just feel like I'm not acknowledged. And the person tries to brush it off. And it could just be like anything from asking any question, even like a friend or a family member. So let's say, I don't know, I guess, well, what would you ask? Like, let's say you ask your family, hey, what happened with that person? Or there was like a fight in the family. Can you fill me in? And then they skip it like, just forget it. And then just try to change the subject. Like, why?
It's true. Oh, biggest pet peeve. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Hi, Melissa.
Hey, Melissa. Hey, Michelle. Let's be honest. And by the way, you guys can input any questions, any comments, any red flags that you've seen that we haven't seen. Share it. I would love to spread that knowledge because we all have a story to tell about red flags in relationships. We've all seen it and we're all the same. So share, and we'd love to give any advice you guys have are asking. All right. Carmen said past relationship info really can tell you how to handle relationships. That's
definitely. Yep. So if the person's, and another thing when they say, it's always the other person's fault. So they say, I got broken up like 5 times. Like, okay, so each one of your girlfriends broke up with you. Why? So you never broke up with them, but they broke up with you. So you see the pattern, right?
Exactly.
No.
Yes. And always dating for like a month or something. You always ask, hey, how long was that relationship? A month. How long was the other relationship? A month. Well, then clearly it's a red flag because that person doesn't know how to commit. I mean, come on. The truth is in front of you. But okay, back to the other one. Okay. Let's be honest. When you talk to somebody new, when you're getting to know somebody new, like a new person you're dating especially, and you ask them a question and they ignore you.
Yep. I can't do that one. I'm sorry.
Okay. How many of you have dating profiles, okay? Tinder, whatever's going on, right? See? Exactly. And then you ask somebody a question like, how old is your children? Or how does it feel to live in Chicago? Or how does it feel to live in London? Or when they ignore you and they don't answer your question, they answer another question that you didn't even ask.
I don't know. I said they're catfish. So
yeah, sometimes I like they're fake people, but the truth is those are red flags that the person isn't of best interest.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yep, definitely.
I agree. So that's one of the things that happens every time that I'm trying to date someone, every time that I'm trying to befriend somebody, every time that I'm just trying to make an old acquaintance to a new friend. When you're Facebook messaging somebody and then you ask them, hey, how was your day? And then they just never reply. Until maybe 24 hours later and they're like, hey, yeah, they answer with a question.
Even
my
worse.
God.
Yes, that when they answer with question.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That is the biggest red flag. That too. I've had that so many times where you're talking to somebody and then suddenly, hey Jasmine.
Hi, Jazz.
Welcome. Okay, when you're talking to somebody in a chat on Tinder, on Facebook, and then you ask them questions, they don't answer. They ask you a question.
You say, how was your past relationship? And they're like, how was
yours?
Past? That one,
Yeah.
And
how was your day? How was yours?
Your day?
Oh,
like,
no.
Wait, what?
They're dodging. Red flags. Red flags all over. So when you're ever having a connection with somebody, whether it's a friend or someone specific, and you want to talk about something that matters to you and they don't respond, red flags.
Oh, Carmen, I love that. I was redirect back to my... Yep.
That's what I do.
That's what I do.
So what I do is I say... so back to my question, and I asked them I always ask them 3 times. And once after I have to ask a question to somebody 3 times and they don't answer, block, delete. Block, delete. Because guess what? It's a red flag that either one, they don't actually have the capacity, the intelligence to deal with what you're dealing with. Maybe you're not mentally compatible. Or 2, they just don't care. And both of those could be true. One of them can be true. But whenever you're actually talking to someone and they don't respond to the question you asked, or they respond with a question,
right?
Red flag. Let's be honest. Red flag. 100%. So that is definitely some red flags that we came up with. Red flags that we've experienced. Oh man. Even last week I'm talking to somebody and they're like, and I asked them, what is your favorite thing about relationships? They ignored it.
Yeah.
They're like, well, the sky is blue. Oh, the weather's really good. I didn't ask that question. Are they really talking to somebody else or are they talking to me?
Yeah.
Did you send that text to the wrong, you know what I mean? So, big deal.
And another big one, I know that Kinsey talk about it, many people, Deb talks about it a lot. We have talked about it. Narcissists. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh man, let's talk about that a little bit.
That is a big one. It wasn't about the narcissist. We need to make a different life for that one because there's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
But the red flags, I would just say, it's all about them. In the end of the day, it doesn't matter how they act because not every narcissist is act the same way as the one next to them. Mm-hmm. But in the end of the day, the general message, it's all about them. So. I grew up with 2 narcissist parents, so kind of I'm one of the people, who just spots them right up. And one of the people was just oh my God, it reminded me so many situations I've heard that. So I was sick, right? And I remember, when you get, as a kid, how you call the disease as a kid?
Chickenpox,
and measles, right? And then I'm like, I'm sick. And then my mom would be like, no, I am sick. I'm feeling terrible. And then my father was like, I'm having a headache.
Exactly.
What do you mean? I'm feeling sick. And so when you have a problem or you're emotionally, messed up or you just need help, doesn't matter. They don't pay attention to you. It's all about them in the end of the day. So let's say you're like, oh, my car broke. I'm in the middle of the street and I just need help. You're like, do you know where I am? I have this, and that problem. So I'm going to find you 60,000 excuses to show you that the fact that your car broke in the middle of the street, it's nothing in comparison to what they're going through.
That's true.
So that's a huge red flag. So if you meet someone just like that, who you say, well, we live in a COVID area. So just say, someone say, I got COVID. And someone is like, I got COVID. I got the flu. And I lost my job. And, they make it like, they exaggerate and make all about them. You're like, okay. And then they make you question at the end of the day. You say, maybe I just have COVID. Look at them. They have so many problems.
Absolutely. So welcome everyone. So thank you for stopping by. We're talking about red flags in relationships. And if you got any examples or any questions, let us know. So Carmen Alvarez, she asked, how about red flags in family relationships? How many red flags do you ignore before giving up? Ooh.
Oh, that's like a tough one because...
Let's talk.
Yeah, because, let's be freaking honest with that one. Many people don't want to cut off their families because, the family is the first foundation of someone's life. And so how many hard pills people have to swallow just to be around their family? And in the family relationship, it could just be like anything. So for me, it was like my narcissist parent. So I had to deal with a little bit for a long time, for almost 35 years of my life. I had to deal with that. And that was just crazy. And the red flags were just there. But in general, with your family, I feel that you don't see them. Do you believe that? I don't think you see them unless you distance yourself from them. So only an outsider would tell you that it's a red flag. Because if you grew up in that environment and that becomes a lifestyle. And so those red flags, it's just like, how many people say, this is how my family is, so this is how they are. And that's how many people say it, right?
Yeah. It's true. All right. So let's talk about family and red flags. We've all had conflict in our families. Some conflict you can get over and some you cannot. And, in my families, there's always been conflict between each other. Someone doesn't like somebody and then somebody doesn't like somebody and then you have to choose sides. I don't choose sides. I don't choose the drama. I just don't, right? But it's true. When you have family, especially your parents or your sisters or your brothers, you can't just get rid of them. You live with them, And when it comes to family relationships, there has to be a point at which you don't let it happen anymore. In family relationships, red flags include all of the red flags. Like when your family's always late but you're always early, red flag. I'm like that.
I was about the bad way though, but Puerto Ricans though.
Puerto Ricans are usually late.
So you can't do that.
Okay, that's I can't do that. I'm gonna be shunned. Never mind.
Scratch that
one. All right. So introducing, like when your family and your sisters and brothers are secretive, those tend to be red flags. When your parents seem to be doing different, well then, you might be a red flag. I'm just kidding. So yeah, time management. Everyone in families are different. Everyone's in families are different. Exactly. So family is like a blood bond, and family is different than friends. So it's okay to be different on time schedules because honestly, whatever. But if you want to hang out with someone more often, like a cousin, you want to hang out with them often, then it's obvious that you need to actually make it clear to them that, hey, Daisy.
Hi, Daisy.
So you got to make it clear to them that, you take time so serious. And so family triggers, family relationships, they're really tricky.
But they say it though. But they say, oh, come on.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I'm your cousin, I'm your brother, I'm your sister, I'm your mom. You're like, you can't treat me like everyone else. They say that. I mean, my family used to say that.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Family, okay, red flags in family, okay? A lot of people say there's not a lot of red flags in family, but there are. It's hard because in family you don't know when someone's crossing the boundaries. Mm-hmm. And everyone has their own sensitivities in family. Some cousins can take it overboard. Some aunts and uncles can take it overboard. Some parents can take it overboard. Everyone has their boundaries. So the way I see it, in families, when somebody crosses your boundaries too often and really doesn't care because you're going to have to deal with them because they're family, I think when it crosses the boundary between acceptable and abuse, that's when it's a red flag.
Yeah.
Because then, because you can bother your sister or brother, you can troll someone, you can play pranks on somebody, but you can't disrespect their whole life. Like okay, trying to give them Pepto-Bismol in their soup. That's rude, but it's something that teenagers do. But if you deliberately go over there and you're tripping your friends, you're tripping your cousins, we're talking about abuse here. So I think that to answer Carmen's question, what's in families, red flags, when is enough? It's when you have to ask yourself, your cousin, your aunts, your uncles, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, you have to ask yourself, do I feel safe? Do I feel loved? Do I feel treated with respect? And are they crossing my boundaries every single chance they get? You ask yourself those questions. And if every question is a negative answer, it was beyond a red flag. It was a red flag a long time ago. And what happens is you have a toxic family environment, and it does not nurture a good family environment in life. Hey, Ned.
Hi, Ned.
Nice to have you.
Yeah, Flo, you have made some really, really good points. I love what you said. And another thing is that the big question for me is like, are you fed up with it? Come on. If you're fed up with it, they keep doing it, you're like, that's a red flag itself. If you don't want to do this anymore. And I would just say my advice into that situation, you know how people are like, okay, let's come and talk like a family. And just, you go to someone's house or, they come to your house. No, don't do it in a place where these red flags have happened, because they could have happened to your house, they could have happened to their home, or let's say you go to a barbecue and, to a specific, family member, then this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Don't do it. If you want to have the conversation, have it in a neutral place where, the other person or you don't feel dominant over the other, because it's like, oh, this is my home, this is my territory. And then the other person says, oh, this is my territory, come to my house and let's talk about it. No. So try to find, let's say, go to Starbucks, right? Or you can just go to have lunch. But get out of the house. So just go to a neutral place and just talk to them about it. Tell them, this is how I feel.
That's true.
And have that conversation, because so what happens with the red flags is that if you don't address it, it's just going to happen, because perhaps for the other person it's a lifestyle and you don't even know. Until you tell them, oh, this is what bothers me. This is what annoys me. And maybe they will say, oh, maybe the truth will come out after all. Maybe they will say, whatever, I don't care about you anyway. Or maybe they say, this is how I grew up. This is normal for me. So once you have the conversation, you will see the response and you will hear the truth behind it. So when you ask them, why are you really doing it? Because I know some people say, oh, this is who I am. So when they say this is who I am, how many times you've heard that? Well, this means that you are not the only person that they're having that behavior. They're having with other people as well.
Yeah. So it's a careful balance, trying to isolate yourself from family if it's not a really healthy environment for you mentally and emotionally. But let's be honest, when it comes to red flags, once you notice a red flag with family, it's usually just too late. When someone sees a red flag, like she said, it's probably on the outside. Like your friends will tell you, your teachers will tell you, somebody else will tell you, your work friends will tell you, hey, isn't your brother treating you like shit? Like, oh, hey, is your cousin trying to date all your boyfriends? So this stuff, just try to focus on. But when it comes to saying enough is enough with family, and if they're crossing too many boundaries, there's a fine line between also having a family and having a friend. And if you want your family to be super close, like a friend, like Luna said, ask them out to dinner, ask them out to a coffee shop, and make it personal. And maybe they'll understand you, because families are like a herd mentality, because the whole family thinks alike, especially when they're on the same page. If you isolate a family member and you take them out to dinner and then you ask them a question, that's when you get the real answer. That's when you get the real personality coming out. So that's what you want to do. If you're having a specific issue, Carmen, with a specific family member, take that specific family member away from everyone else and see who they are alone. Express your emotions, and if it doesn't go well, then you have to know that you just have to distance yourself and don't blame yourself. You just have to go, at least you said your piece. At least you set your boundaries with your family. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you wrong. It just makes you somebody who's conscious of how you feel, and your intuition is clicking, boop, 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 and it doesn't feel right. So, how do they use intuition in family? Hard to do, but when you just don't feel safe, I think it's the only time, because family's supposed to make you feel safe.
Yeah.
So that's that one thing. With family, red flags with families, is when you're with your family and you don't feel safe.
Yeah.
If you don't feel safe, then you know something's wrong. Friends,
Definitely.
Lovers, it's different. Like, there's all kinds of red flags. It's visual, it's sexual, it's emotional, it's mental. With family, they're supposed to be a rock. They're supposed to be a foundation. If you don't feel safe, something's wrong. And you just have to use your intuition. You got to think, how do I feel spiritually? How do I feel emotionally? And that'll tell you that something is wrong.
Yeah, you're definitely right, because when I grew up with my step-parents, I never felt safe. And this is one of the behaviors that I got from them, and the way they treated me. I had to deal with a lot of anxiety, fears, insomnia. So I remember as a child, I never felt safe. I was terrified when I was at home. I was, in fight or flight mode. I'm like, oh, something is going to happen and I'm going to get hurt. And it was happening, constantly. And so, a thing is that your connection with your family and those red flags, they carry on to your relationship with friends and with relationships, because so let's say that you grew up in an environment where let's say that your parents were smoking cigarettes, right? And you just remember that kind of like, oh my God, my clothes are smelling, and you just feel like odd. I remember like my stepfather used to smoke like almost like 30 cigarettes a day. He was smoking a lot. And I just remember when I would just get into the car, when I would drive anywhere, and the seats would be soaked with smoke to a point that I couldn't breathe. And I remember when I would just, let's say, go on a date, right? And I would go into a guy's car and I would just drive to the cafeteria. And then I would just smell, that the nicotine, from those cigarettes in the car. I was just getting really triggered and just didn't know what was triggering me. But years later, I just realized that that was a red flag, that this person is someone who has a healthy lifestyle. I just couldn't tell that time because I was like really young, so I wasn't even thinking about it. But I was, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be around that person. I just don't know why. And it was the same reason why I didn't want to be around my father.
Yeah.
Because of that. So those family triggers, they carry along to your relationship with, romantic relationships or even friendships.
True. And Flora, she said, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells with a family member, something's wrong. Red flag.
That's a red flag right there.
Yeah, so we're going to take one comment from the comments on the video. Kinsey left a comment saying, a good red flag that she noticed. Okay, let me open the comments one more time. 1 second. All right. So Kinsey, one of our really good friends, she said a good red flag that she notices is when people complain a lot but don't want to solve anything. Oh my God, that's one of my biggest pet peeves ever.
Same here.
Oh my God. Okay, I can't stand it. That's just personally me.
Victimizing.
Yeah, I'm a victim, but no one wants to help me.
But you don't want to help yourself.
But you don't want to help yourself. Okay, red flag. So to me, personally, when I'm in a friendship or in a relationship or even a family ship, if someone keeps complaining about everything, like, oh, why is the clouds out in the sky? Oh, why does it smell like roses in here? Like, but wants to complain all day, but doesn't have any solutions, like no solutions at all.
But you know what? When you say, do you need help? And like,
No. I don't need help.
That's a red flag.
Red flag.
And this is going to be another subject. We need to talk about energy vampires, you know, or people who just want all your attention.
Toxic people. Oh
Toxic
man,
people.
I can't wait to talk about that. So yeah, so if you guys have any ideas of what you want topics to be in the future weeks, this is a new project and we're going to go on throughout the entire year, every single week, just talking. Just talking about our experiences, talking about our feelings, talking about stuff that bothers us in relationships and friendships, just talking about stuff. We'd love to give you guys advice in our spiritual perspective, and we'd love for you guys to share your perspective as well. Yeah,
Definitely, Carmen. Yep, complaining energy
Oh
drainer.
my God, that's so true. That's how I feel when people complain all the damn time. I feel like I'm just being sucked dry, you know? Whatever. All right, so
So I would just say that, well, when it comes with red flags in general, a little bit of advice on how to, I would just say spot them. How I usually do it is I just try to write down either physically or mentally. So go back to all your previous friendships and do you see the one thing that keeps repeating? And how you cut off those people or relationships, you know. For example, how we said, you know, they keep coming late and it's like a thing.
Yeah.
So do you ever have that? And how did that end up with that connection? So try to catch it early. And if it doesn't feel right, it's a red flag already. If something like, as who said, I forgot, when she said if in your stomach you feel that something is wrong, if you feel your guts are turning, you know, it definitely is there. It's a red flag, and it's something that perhaps you need to let go. Don't waste your time, because remember, there's so many people who want to get to know you. Why waste your time with someone who give you just red flags?
Yes. All right, so since we're closing into 7, so let's talk about the last topics, which is green flags.
Green flags.
So we're wearing green. If you notice, I got my green shirt.
I got a green scarf.
We're doing green flags because we want to be sort of like inspiring and inspiration for green flags. So red flags are those things that you should focus on that are negative points and signs that something is wrong in your relationship. Green flags, we want to redefine green flags as things that you see in a relationship that is going right. Like a green flag would be when somebody opens the door for you because they actually care. Green flag. When somebody actually asks you about your feelings and sits down and listens to you, whether it be just 5 minutes a day, green flag. Like just things like that, that really are positive signs that you're in a good friendship or relationship. I feel like when somebody actually takes your time very, very personally and loves that you respect your time, green flag. We can turn our red flags into green flags.
Yeah, that's my favorite because...
Yeah, so my first one is about time investments. The green flag is when somebody actually shows up on time all the time because they know that it's special to you. When they show up on your birthday and give you a gift, green flag. That's how I feel. Number 2, being introduced to family and friends. If you're in a relationship and like about a month or 3 months in and you start getting introduced to friends, those are green flags. If they want you to know personally the story of all their friendships and all their family ships, that's a green flag to me because it shows they want to involve you in their personal life. So if you see that, it's a good sign. And finally, emotional and spiritual vulnerability. I mean, if you see, like I said, somebody actually want to talking to you about your emotions, it's a green flag. If it's too much emotional talk, red flag, because that means they talk too much. But the truth is, if somebody wants to open up their heart, it's a green flag. So definitely understand that every one of your red flags, everything that you don't like in relationships, everything that bothers you, expect that you can turn it around to a green flag if you want, but they have to do the work, and you have to actually tell people what you want. Just focus on the fact that if you want to turn a red flag into a green flag, communicate what you want. Communicate how you want to be loved. And that person should hear you. And when they hear you, they'll change. If they don't change, then they don't really care.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel that in every connection, every relationship, even family members, there's always the potential of changing the red flag into a green flag. When you feel comfortable, communicate it. Yeah. Sometimes you might just want to let go. If you feel intuitively that you want to let go, you say, I don't feel that's worth my time. Go for it. But if you feel that there's someone you really care about, just, go out for coffee, or lunch, or just, just let them know how you feel and see their intention. If they are willing to work with you, then successfully you have turned a red flag into a green flag.
Absolutely. So yeah, never forget, red flags can be turned into green flags. That's the positive message of this Facebook Live. It's not all negative. Not everything is negative. There's also positive aspects to the mistakes that people make. Not everything is a red flag. Okay, I know I hate when people are late, okay? But if somebody does show up, 15 minutes late to a date, right? And they have roses, I'll give them a little bit of a chance. Just a little bit of a chance. Give a little bit of leeway. It can be a green flag if they understand that, being late feels very negative to you. Communicate it. Tell them, you're making me feel like I'm inadequate when I'm 15 minutes waiting at Starbucks for you. Communicate how that makes you feel. If they care, they'll change. If they don't, they won't. It's simple. And
another thing is that when I met Leo, we both were spotting red flags on each other, right? But because we care about each other, we try to work on it. I mean, sometimes we'll try to go out. Leo's like, come on, Luna.
You're late.
And I'm like, but hold on. I'm like, I can't do my makeup that fast.
Man.
But we try though to compromise. At least I communicate. I'm like, hey, I might need a good 1 hour to do what I want to do. And then he's like, okay, you have 1 hour. But I feel like it's all about communication.
It's all about getting up early if you want to leave early. Case dismissed.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic. If you okay, little tip, okay? This has nothing to do with the topic, but if you want to be on time and you're usually late, just wake up half an hour early and you'll be fine. Can the whole world just get up early?
I can't get up early.
I'm sorry. Done. All right, so the last thing I wanted to share with you is our final remarks and our spiritual advice. So we are spiritual life coaches. We've helped people with past life therapy and present life circumstances a lot. And we have all this experience, over 10 years of experience, helping people in the most professional and also playful ways, because helping people is an experience, it's a journey.
It is.
But things I've learned... things I've learned about the spiritual aspect of relationships and red flags is again about intuition. You gotta learn how to use your intuition properly. Sometimes your intuition will lie to you just because you're afraid. You have to be able to tell the difference between your fear and your intuition. Fears, irrational fears, can really make you think something is happening. Just quiet your mind, meditate on it, relax, and focus on what makes you feel safe. Communicate that to your lover or your friend, and then let that take forward into giving your intuition some clarity. But listen to your intuition. Practice meditation and actually just listen to your inner voice and what you actually want in the relationship. If you see something is bothering you and you can't get it off your mind, like somebody who's texting in the corner not paying attention to you, or somebody who's calling their mom 24/7 and not paying attention to you, like just red flags. If it bothers you, communicate it. But also, if you're confused if it's a red flag, you can ask us, hey, Luna, hey, Leo, is this a red flag? We'll tell you yes or no if it's a red flag or not, if something you should worry about. And the last thing I want to say is, with relationships, I wish you guys the best of luck, but just ask us if you need any advice. But if you also need advice using your intuition to move forward in advancing in your relationships, we got all the tips for you, all the tricks. We understand the spiritual aspect and the emotional aspect of doing well in relationships.
Yeah, and another thing I want to mention is that a red flag, it can also be a trigger. And a trigger that something that you remember from your childhood or from your early years, and you really didn't pay attention to. I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about something that is completely obvious. For example, you know, when you smell cigarettes and you're like, oh, you know, that reminds me, you know, for me, my stepfather, right? But it could just be those red flags that you don't really know where they came from, and it is because you don't remember. So, for example, if someone is late, like Leo says, so what if, I'm going to send a what if right there. What if, you know, in the past as a child, at some point you experienced that one of your parents was late, and, you know, just in an important moment in your life, so let's say you were playing soccer, right, or football, baseball, whatever, and then in graduation, one of them was late, and then somehow that you don't remember the memory because it was traumatic, right? But then you had it with you, and now all late people trigger you because of that.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That's true. So, like, yeah, just recognize, if you want to tell the difference between a red flag and an irrational stress and trigger fear, you need to then just talk about it, sort of think about, okay, why does this bother me? Why does people being late, or why does my boyfriend in the corner texting all day, why does that bother me? That's why you need to meditate. Find out, why does that thing bother you? And then once you have an answer, like, okay, it's a rational thing, like, it makes sense. It bothers you because, you know, whatever. Okay, but if it bothers you because your parents did it, or your friends did it, or your cousin did it, and it solved that issue, come back to the relationship.
And see if it's still a problem.
Express it to that person that it's an issue in the past. They should understand your vulnerabilities, and they should change with you to make you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Clear. All right, so it was a pleasure talking with you. I love this, and we will be doing this throughout the entire year, just every week, just discussing things, having fun, having a wonderful talk about topics that we all want to talk about.
Yeah, and if you guys have any suggestions about topics that you would like us to talk about, and or if you have questions about something specific, we're here for you.
Yeah, leave a comment, leave a suggestion for topics for the future, and we'd love to have you by. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so it was a pleasure. Let's Be Honest with Leo and Luna every Friday at 6 p.m. CST.
Yes.
We'd love to have you again, and have a wonderful night, guys.
Enjoy your weekend. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Love you.
Bye.
All right, see you guys. Bye-bye.